it's quite a big day here on NBC Montana today. Senator Jon Tester is joining us live. Thank you so much, Senator, for taking time for our viewers.
It is great to be here in person.
Yes, and we should explain, both of us have been fully vaccinated, and we're working to stay farther apart than usual.
That's right.
So working to keep safe with that. Speaking of COVID-19, a lot of our viewers are asking, what is the status of the relief and recovery in our country right now?
Well, I think things are picking up, and that's a very, very good thing. I think the dollars were put out by the CARES Act and more recently the rescue plan have done what was intended to do. Not that we're out of the woods yet. Still, the hospitality industry is still struggling, but it's getting better. It's getting better pretty darn quickly, and I think we're going to be back to normal, hopefully in a few more months, that we'll see the kind of demand that's out there in restaurants and hotels and bars and those kind of places. But I think, Heidi, it really is based on vaccines and people going out there and getting their shots. Montana's done pretty well, but we still have a ways to go. And if we can get the folks out here who are a bit hesitant to get a hold of their doctor and talk about why they should get the vaccine. It's safe, it's effective, and it's free. So folks need to get out there and do it. And as soon as we get to, I don't know what they're saying, 75, 80%, somewhere in that neck of the woods, we get to herd immunity, and then life can get back to normal. And why this is important is there's the variants out there in different countries, and people are traveling all over the world all the time. Those variants get spread very rapidly, and if people can get the vaccine, it will help diminish the impact of those variants that are out there.
Yeah, you mentioned the recovery plan. Some people are criticizing the price of that, plus the infrastructure plan, plus the families plan. They're concerned, where are we getting this money?
Well, it's borrowed money. All of it has been borrowed money from the get-go. And I will tell you that, as many economists have told me, because we've talked to a bunch of them during this crisis, is that if the economy doesn't snap back, you do not have a chance to pay that debt back. And I think we're seeing the economy start to snap back pretty vigorously in some industries. Some industries weren't hurt by the pandemic either. But the bottom line is that we need to get the economy back on track. Then we need to sharpen the pencils, and we need to do what we can do to start reducing the debt moving forward. But the economy needs to get back to normal first. We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, Rod on Facebook is really concerned about the high price of lumber. He wonders, hey, is somebody profiting off of these skyrocketing prices?
Well, I don't think so, but you never know. I mean, that's something that maybe we should be looking into on the Commerce Committee. I think it ebbs and flows like all commodities. You know, I'm in the farming business. We see wheat go up and down. We need more competition in that industry. But the bottom line is, I think that we're seeing high prices right now. I don't think anybody expects them to be there for a long, long time. But there's a lot of demand out there in housing, created a lot by this pandemic, and so we will see how it goes. I think it's good news on one hand that we produce some timber here, and I think it's good. We've got companies that are able to make some money now. They've went through some tough times too. On the other hand, it's really tough to build a house right now or to remodel your house because it's so doggone expensive. So I think we're going to see it ebb and flow like we see all commodities ebb and flow out there on the marketplace. But if it stays up for an extended period of time, it might not hurt us to take a look and see what is really going on there. If it's more than just demand, if it might be collusion. But I just don't see that in the timber industry like I do in the grains and cattle.
Okay. Earlier in headlines this week, Facebook permanently banned President Trump from using their platform. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I think, you got to be careful when folks are out there spreading things that take away from our democracy and claiming that our election was rigged, which is not true, is one of those things. And it puts fear into people's minds about whether their vote even counts. And it's just not right. And it counted last election, and it's counted elections before. We don't want people to start thinking that these elections are rigged, because they're not. And so you got to be careful on one hand. On the other hand, Facebook's about freedom of information and thought. So I mean, I think it's a tough decision, but I do think there has to be some controls. You can't holler fire in a crowded theater. I mean, that doesn't work. And I don't think perpetuating lies or falsehoods that impact our ability to stay as a democracy, especially when you've got Russia and China and others that are promoting that kind of stuff, because they'd love to see us go to a dictatorship or a communist thing. I think you just got to be careful. And I'm not a big Facebook fan myself, I will tell you, but it's the way a lot of younger people communicate, and people my age too, as far as that goes.
Well, in our legislative session, we had a number of bills that made national headlines. Are any of the measures standing out to you?
Well, I mean, look, I'm a big Second Amendment fan, and I believe we ought to have the right to keep and bear arms, but guns in bars don't make a lot of sense to me. You get people drinking, and weaponry does not usually fit that scenario. I think the issue about women be able to control their own health decisions is really, really important, and I think they did some things in the legislature to take that ability away. But you know, overall, that's a place that I came from. It works well. It's a citizen legislature. People are held accountable. If people don't like the things that were done for Montana, then of course they'll be replaced in the next election or the election after that, depending whether the House or the Senate. So, you know, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't track it as close as I normally track because we were doing stuff in D.C. and really focused on that.
Well, Senator Tester, that's our time. Thank you so much for taking this time for our viewers this morning.
Thanks, Heidi. Appreciate the opportunity to visit.